Welcome to the Scio Middle School Parent Orientation. Over the past year, we've all grappled with new situations, and we've all had to adjust our lives to do the best that we can. Scio School District was no different. We tried, during the midst of a pandemic, to completely redesign, within only a couple of weeks, how education is supposed to look. During the few months of distance learning at the end of the last school year, we learned a lot, and we recognized that, as we learned, you might have been frustrated by how we conducted ourselves, and for that, we're sorry. The Scio School District has worked tirelessly over the summer and in the many weeks leading up to the first day of this school year to address the questions, concerns, and problems that our parents, students, and fellow teachers faced during the distance learning at the end of last year. Since then, we've tried to do what we ask our students. We have tried to grow and improve. We understand that the distance learning from the last year may have annoyed many parents, as well as frustrated many students. Students were constantly bombarded with reminders and messages saying, "You missed my Google Meets," "I don't see your assignment," "You haven't turned anything in," or "You need to check your emails." At the middle school, we have changed several features of our distance learning from what it was in the spring, and introduced to you now the comprehensive distance learning model, which we hope will reduce the number of messages and reminders students are getting, as well as the number of classes they need to keep track of during a grading period. The first and most noticeable difference this year will be the total number of classes that students will need to keep track of online. When we had distance learning in the spring, we had moved every one of the students' 8 classes to online. The resulting confusion and disengagement on the part of the students became quickly obvious. With that in mind, we have changed formatting this year. Students will no longer have a normal 8 periods worth of classes, but will instead be responsible for only 4 classes at a time. The other major change is that classes this year at the middle school will be divided into 6-week-long chunks. This means that your child may take Class A for a 6-week chunk, then switch to Class B for the following 6-week chunk. After taking Class B for 6 weeks, they may then return to Class A to continue learning where they left off. This may seem odd at first, but it has been created this way so that students are only needing to keep track of 4 classes online instead of the 8 that they were in the spring. Because students may not be taking all the classes that appear in the online gradebook during any specific 6-week chunk, it means they and you will need to pay attention to which classes they are currently taking, so that you both can ignore classes in the gradebook in which they are not currently receiving grades. For questions on your child's schedule, you can also contact the middle school office. Since distance learning in the spring, we've also recognized the need for further consistency among teachers in how we present online materials and engage with the students. We will therefore all be using Google Classroom. This means that for every one of the students' classes, they will have the Google Classroom format. These Google Classrooms will be specifically formatted to have the locations of assignments, assignment descriptions, turn-in buttons, and teacher announcements in the same place for all of the students' classes. This format will be consistent among all the middle school teachers, as well as many of the teachers in the high school. It is our sincerest hope that by reducing the number of classes that students need to keep track of online, and by creating consistent online classrooms, we can meet many of the student needs that we were unable to at the end of last school year. There is a Google Classroom refresher and overview at the end of this video if you would like more information. With the first day of school being September 14th, and with all classes being online, families will be able to pick up materials, including Chromebooks, textbooks, and schedules on September 9th and September 10th. You should have already received a letter in the mail about your scheduled day to pick up materials. If you did not receive this letter, you should immediately call the middle school office. With the comprehensive distance learning model, we feel there are a few things you can do at home to help your child be most successful in their schooling, First, we recommend creating a school space. Decide on a specific space where your child will sit down to do schoolwork. This can be a desk or a table or even some other location. Once you have decided on that school space, try and remove the clutter and distractions as much as you can. Removing distractions might include making sure that students are not in an area with a TV they can view while in class. Some other suggestions we have include posting a copy of your child's schedule on the fridge or other frequently viewed locations. This will help them and you to become more familiar with their schedule and to make it more likely that students actually show up to Google Meets at the proper time. Along with posting a schedule in a frequently viewed space, it is encouraged to set or help students set alarms on their phone or other devices that will remind them when their classes are about to start. Lastly, we feel it is important for students to build into their routine a time specifically for them to check their Scio emails. Email will be commonly used by teachers to contact students. If students fail to check their email often, they may miss an important announcement. We understand that it may be unreasonable for your family to do many of these suggestions, but any of them you are able to do will contribute greatly to your child's success. There may be a couple of questions you're still asking yourself. Let us try and answer them here. Question: will my child need to log in to his or her class promptly at the exact time it starts? Answer: attendance will be taken in every class, so it's important that students show up to their scheduled Google Meet time every day. Some teachers, however, may give specific guidance on whether students need to show up at the very beginning of a Google Meet. For the first several weeks, it is encouraged that all students show up to their scheduled Google Meet time on time, until they learn what the teachers may require of them. Question: what if my child misses a live session? Answer: if your child misses a live lesson, they should check the Google Classroom about what they missed. Most teachers will post any lesson materials for students to look over if they miss a live lesson. If the student does not find the information on that Google Classroom, they should email the teacher for further guidance. Question: will teachers have designated times for students to ask questions and receive more support outside of the class period? Answer: yes, teachers will have office hours to answer students' questions and offer further support outside of the class period. This information for each teacher can be found by going to the specific teacher's website, which can be found on the middle school website. This year will be different than anything any of us have ever done before. As such, it is important that should any questions and concerns arise, you contact the middle school office or teachers as soon as possible, because if you're having issues, others may be as well. As always, we're here to support your child and help them be the most successful they can be. So to get to Google Classroom, go ahead and have your child open up a Google tab. Once in Google tab, you're going to look up here in the top right corner. There will be a sign in button. So they'll go ahead and click sign in and they'll use their Scio Gmail account information, so their username and their password. If this is something you or them don't have, you can just contact the middle school office and they'll figure out a way to get that information to you. Anyway, so once you've clicked sign in and they're logged in, the key place we're going to look for Google Classroom is actually in this little grid up here. It's a really important grid. We're going to go ahead and open it because it has so many things. But the thing we're going to look at is Classroom. Let's open Classroom. Once I open Classroom, this is going to be a class dashboard. So any class that the student is enrolled in is going to appear on this as a big tile with some sort of color and picture at the top. The key takeaway here as a parent is that you should be able to just look over their shoulder very quickly and see, oh, this one over here, this doesn't have any assignments under it. Okay, they've either done them all or there's no assignments yet. Looking over here, just glancing over their shoulder, you can see there's stuff under here. It's a good indicator that you might ask them, hey, have you started working on that, or did you do those? That's a really good conversation starter if you just happen to walk by as they're doing things. Let's go ahead and open this. Once we open it, first screen, stream. So think of stream as the announcement and reminder place. So I created an announcement earlier today that just says, hey, class begins every day at 8 a.m. you must use the Google Meet link at the top of this page to join the virtual classroom. Okay, so that announcement directs students to look up here and realize, oh, there is a Meet link right underneath the name, and if I just click on that, it will take me right to a video conferencing thing where I can see the teacher. That's important. And then there's some stuff about, hey, make sure your audio is turned off, make sure you're dressed appropriately and in an appropriate space before entering Google Meet. The other thing off to the left here is really, I think, important for parents as well as students, because if you are a parent, you're walking by, you can see a column of assignment. And if it looks like it's a really big column, it either means that they have a lot of stuff coming up or they have failed to do a lot of things. So this is also a good conversation starter if you happen to see the screen. You can look over their shoulder and go, hey, what's this math minute thing that's due Wednesday? Have you started that? Or what's this thing due Friday? That's great. They can also click on this and go straight to the assignment. But I'm going to show you how to get to the assignment in a different way. If we go back up here to the top of the screen, we'll see classwork. So I'm going to click on it. Classwork is going to be more in a nice line. So as assignments come, they'll just file down the line. We can see right now I've assigned 2 assignments. The one that's due soonest is September 2nd. So let's just click on it. It says Math Minute 1. So specifically, this is a daily warm-up for the class. It has really specific instructions. This is to be done from 8 to 8:05, and as soon as you're done, turn in what you have. This is a warm-up. Now, the key here is that if students aren't looking at that description, they're going to miss it. And they might just keep working on it. They might not realize it. It's really important to read the instructions. So they might just open up this. Notice it's just kind of a fill in the blank. Right, editable. So they'll go ahead and they'll do their stuff on this and they'll save their answers. And then they'll come back over here to the screen, right? And they'll say view assignment and they'll hit that lovely turn in button and they'll attach their assignment. And boom, it's done. Other sort of things they might see, it's really important to read the description for, are things that say, hey, this is a long document and it needs to take you the entire week. So some students, if they don't open this, they might just see it says due September 4th, and they'll just start it September 3rd and think it's only a one-day thing, when in reality it's meant to be the whole week. So if you notice students are struggling or having difficulty with the assignment, you might make sure they go back and actually read what the assignment said, because teachers are trying really hard not to give them far over the top of what they can do. So they're going to give expectations like, hey, this is the entire week. Okay, so that is kind of the overview of Google Classroom. While we're here, I want to talk about this grid again, Google Grid. One really important thing for you is the language arts and science textbooks can be found in this grid. So if you scroll all the way down, there's this McGraw-Hill connection. So you'll click on it, and that will take the students to a language arts and a science textbook. The other place for textbooks is if you navigate to the Scio Middle School website, see there's a parent and students tab, and you can scroll straight down to online textbooks. And that's where geography and history will be.